What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos Monday through Friday, mainly covering the NFL, but we'll also be covering the NBA as the season is quickly approaching. Media Day on Monday, and then MLB as the playoffs roll around. We'll do some predictions. But mainly, if you like the NFL, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of October. Appreciate everyone that has already subscribed or just leave a like. Any support helps. But in today's episode, obviously, we got to cover the Arizona Cardinals versus Seattle Seahawks game that came down to the wire in an NFC West thriller. Great start to week 4 for me on a couple of reasons. We'll give a recap on that and then also it's a big weekend in college football. A lot of big games are happening, some tonight, but mostly tomorrow. I'll just give some quick predictions on. Obviously, I'm not as knowledgeable in college football as I think the NFL, but I'll give some picks. I think I'm a pretty avid college football watcher on who I think wins and some of my favorite teams. But with that being said, we'll get right into it. Happy Friday to everyone, and it's a good one if you're specifically a Seattle Seahawks fan, as they won yesterday to improve to 3-1. Obviously, I'm happy because I'm a big Sam Darnold fan, even as a Vikings fan my whole life. I love what he did for us last year. Just a good comeback story. And he continues to be balling out in Seattle, and they picked up the win last night. So it's good for my pool league. Get back on track after I had a rough week with picks going 7-9 last week. So it's good to start off 1-0, get a nice little bounce back game that, was pretty, not necessarily 50-50. I think more people are leaning towards Seahawks, but some people pick the Cardinals, and it was a great game that we didn't expect at the end, because when the game first started, it looked a little bit rough for Seattle. And just some unlucky bounces. They had a 4th and 1 near midfield, where credit to Arizona's defense, they got a big stop on the run. I believe Charbonnet tried to run it. They made the stop, and then Kyler Murray throws a pick. Marvin Harrison, definition of one of the worst first halves in football, and then a great second half. But the first interception, Kyler Murray's throwing it. Marvin Harrison just kind of stops mid-route. I believe it was Julian Love, one of the safeties, picks it off. He starts running. He fumbles the ball back, and then Arizona gets it. So still counts as a pick for Kyler Murray. Even though, it was, I don't know if Marvin Harrison would have caught it, but he definitely could have helped contested that. And they still get the ball back. They're able to manage a field goal out of that drive to go up 3-0. But from there on out, for a majority of the game, until like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, it was all Seattle. Kenneth Walker had a great day on the ground, 80 plus yards. Charbonnet looked like the best we've seen so far. Sam Darnold was using the play action to his offense. And even in the first half, when they were scoring the touchdown drive, it wasn't Jack Smith-Njigba, but, just the attention he's drawn, knowing that Sam Darnold could target him, opened up other spots for Seahawks receivers. They had a nice fade to one of the tight ends for the first touchdown to go up 7-3. They kept pounding the rock, really. And we're just kind of taking control. Kyler Murray was getting sacked a lot. The Seattle defense was getting after it, and they forced another pick where Kyler Murray throws a dot. Marvin Harrison juggles it, can't control it in his hands, and that's been a problem pretty much so far all this year. And it gets picked off again by Ernest Jones on that second one. And so Seattle looks like they're in control of this game. They go up 17-3. And Arizona, by the second half, is just starting to boo, because this offense was really been sluggish over the first 3 weeks, even though they were 2-0, 2-1 entering tonight or last night. They were looking bad. It was not looking good. The offense just looked very predictable. James Conner out too. So it was Trey Benson time. Really couldn't get anything going on the ground. Didn't give him a lot of touches, though. I believe only like 8 in the game. And so Kyler Murray, like I said, was taking a lot of sacks. No one was really getting open. Marvin Harrison was in his slump. And then later on in the game, it's 17-6. Seattle once again is driving, looking to end it. Charbonnet gets a rushing touchdown, but it does get called back for a JSN hold, where we've seen the viral tweets where the referee's mic'd up, and JSN, argues that's BS, and the referee gives him that look, when your parents give you when they're disappointed. So that was kind of funny. So Seattle ends up settling for a field goal, but they're still up 20-6 with like 8 minutes to go or something like that. The game still looks over. And Kyler Murray has one fantasy point for me as the starting QB. So I'm pissed off in a lot of ways, where I mean, Seattle's dominating, so it's not as fun, even though I did pick Seattle, and Kyle Murray is crap. Even though the interceptions weren't necessarily his fault, he's only given me 1 fantasy point. The offense looks atrocious. It looks like it's going to be a rough day for me, fantasy football wise, and I'm already 1-2 and need a win this week. So it was looking really rough. But then the first play that kind of broke through was him finally able to use his legs for a big scramble of like 20 to 25 yards. And that kind of started to get the offense rolling. They throw a fade to Marvin Harrison. And then this one, Marvin Harrison really got going on a big touchdown reception where he just leaps over Devin Witherspoon. Great catch. And then you can just see the sigh of relief on his face when he gets the touchdown, kind of release some of the pressure, because he had his ups and downs rookie year, but overall kind of, not what people expecting. And then just a really bad start to this year, one of the worst first halves you can see from a receiver in football. But he bounced back, and I think that shows, all the talent in the world he has. And Kyler Murray, I think, just has to trust him. And that was just a kind of a beautiful throw by Kyler, but just a great job by Marvin Harrison going up against one of the better corners in football, and just, doing his thing. And, mossing him basically to pull Arizona within a touchdown. So at this point, it's 20-13. Cardinals still have a little bit of hope, but then JSN proved to be big in the second half, made like 6 catches for like 85, 90 yards, something like that, maybe even close to 100. Had a big catch where he beats, Arizona's banged up secondary, where their top 3 corners are out: Sean Murphy-Bunting, Will Johnson, and they are within field goal range. The thing I didn't like, and I think a lot of Seattle fans would agree with, is they have the ball around like the Arizona 35, 40-ish, somewhere around there, and they just run the ball 3 straight plays. Arizona snuffs them out. They still have all their timeouts, so clock really isn't taking much off. And then Jake Myers, they settle for a long 53-yarder. He misses it, so Arizona gets the ball near midfield. And it wasn't the most pretty drive. Michael Wilson had a great catch on a 4th and 4, one-hand snag to keep the drive going. Kyle Murray is facing a lot of pressure. And still took, I think, a sack or 2 on the drive, but he did a great job getting the ball out, trusting Marvin Harrison to beat Devin Witherspoon on a far side route. Marvin Harrison ended up having like 6 catches for like 80 yards in the second half. Just as a whole, he looked a lot better, and that big touchdown. And then Arizona's driving. They used a great screenplay to Dortch, on like a 3rd and long to really help keep these drives going. They're just getting quick plays when Mike McDonald was dialing up the pressure. And then Kyler Murray finds DeMarcado, who actually played a big role in the comeback as well, just being a physical, receiver, runner. And Seattle ties it, or Arizona ties it. So it's now 2020, even though this game was 90% controlled by Seattle. This is the beauty of division matchups. You're never out of it. And Arizona's offense finally looked the best they had all season when it mattered most. And Kyler Murray came in clutch, which has been a problem for Arizona fans. So I think they were pretty happy about that. 20-20, I'm happy because Kyler Murray went from 1 fantasy point quickly to like 16, which is fine by me. That's where he was around projected. I know Seattle's defense is good. So that was a good turnaround to see, good bounce back to come back from the 2 interceptions that, like I said, weren't really his fault. But then Sam Darnold showed why he got paid, and I will say Arizona's kicker did screw up. We found, our first trouble with the kicking rule where he kicked it short of the 20-yard line, I believe. So Seattle got the ball at the 40, but Darnold finds JSN on a beautiful, back shoulder throw, I believe it was. Something. It was just a great throw to JSN, once again being the Arizona banged up secondary, to put them within field goal range. Charbonnet, an underrated play, was the last play where it looks like he's going to get trapped for 0 yards, ends up like getting 5, just hustling. And then Arizona, Myers rips the smelling salts before, maybe should have done that on the previous attempt. And he nails it not right through the uprights, definitely. It was a little bit close. Thought it might hit the post, but it ends up going in. Seattle wins 23-20. And overall, a great NFC West thriller. I think overall, my biggest takeaway is kind of why I picked Seattle is I still think they're the more complete team on offense and defense, especially just with how Arizona's banged up. And we finally saw Kyler and Marvin have their best connection, maybe since, some parts of last year. But this offense, it took them a while to get going just without James Conner. There's really kind of no run game right now. Maybe they'll rely on Trey Benson more next week. So Seattle improves to 3-1. I think, They're one of the best teams in football, one of the best defenses. But credit to Arizona, I'm curious if they can take this offensive momentum, specifically with Marvin Harrison, in the next week, because their defense with Jonathan Gannon's always going to be feisty. But Donald showed why he got paid, why he was one of the most clutch quarterbacks last year, leading game-winning drives against this Cardinals team with the Vikings last year, and he does it again on the road. Overall, just a great game. But like I think Seattle was the better team. Arizona still had an ability to steal it, but we see why how special teams has been so important so far. We saw a bunch of block kicks last week, a missed field goal from Myers leads a short field for Arizona, and then your kicker needs to come through, and Myers does when it matters most. So Seattle improves to 3-1, big win for them to also get their first division win to improve to 1-1 after that tough loss to San Fran week 1. And for Arizona, 2-0, now 0-2 with 2 division losses to the 49ers and Seahawks, both on game-winning kicks. It's just a little frustrating, but like I said, the biggest question mark will be, can this offense continue to improve? We know what the defense is going to be. They're going to be a scrappy around top 10 unit. Once they get more pieces back, like Will Johnson, that secondary, maybe they can improve a little bit more, but you really can't ask for much more. They did contain a good job of the Seattle offense for the most part. Obviously they did have the rush success, but you're going to get that with the Seattle team. Walker, Charbonnet, Najigba, Torrey Horn, I believe his name is, but Horn has really come onto the scene. So overall, I think Seattle is just a complete team. I think it's going to be them and the Rams, just with all the 49ers injury, really competing for that division. But if Arizona can hang around, win some of these close games, continue to prove on offense, like they did in the second half, mainly just the last 5 minutes or 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, that'll be interesting to see. But credit to Seattle, it's always gutsy going into a tough place. Arizona debuting their new home uniforms retro, and that the field looks sick, the end zone specifically. I didn't mind their jerseys. But let me know in the comments, because I saw people tweet looks like a tortilla, and kind of do agree with that. It's a little bit funny. Can't really unsee that. But great start to week 4. Hopefully, if you haven't already, make sure to go check out the rest of our week 4 predictions, because hopefully, if that's the sign of what week 4 is going to be like, we're in for a good one. I have 2 episodes where we do our AI predictions and my predictions for how I think each game of week 4 will turn out. So if you haven't already, make sure to go like that. But football isn't just NFL. We got some college football. And so I'm just going to give a quick preview of who I think wins these tough games. There's a lot of good games coming up. Starting tonight, we got Florida State versus Virginia. Tommy Castellano should be good to go. Florida State, I was a big fan of them a couple of years ago with Jordan Travis. Thought they should have been in the CFP. My boy Johnny Wilson. Unfortunately, they did get snubbed. And last year was just a disaster with DJ Ukulele, but Mike Norvell has really turned around this team in one season. Obviously, the number 8 team started off with that big road win or home win versus Alabama, but dominating, a couple touchdowns. And this offense has been humming. Castellanos looks great, both on the ground and in the air. He should be going tonight. I would be curious to know if his mobility is a little bit limited just with the knee injury, but I like Florida State. I'm always going to pick them against Virginia, although in Virginia could be a little scrappy, but give me Florida State. Next up, TCU versus Arizona State. TCU made the statement week 1 on national television against North Carolina that they're not playing around this year. I really like their quarterback. I believe it's Weaver. I've seen him play a couple times. Dude's a stud. But Arizona State, they had that one loss to Mississippi State. But I do like Sam Leavitt. Kenny Dillingham, I think, has his team right. They had a big road win versus Baylor last week, and Baylor, really good offense. I'll take Arizona State. Slight upset. I think this is going to be one of those close games. I think Arizona State lost their close game for Mississippi State. I think TCU will lose a dogfight tonight. I think it's going to be like 27-24. I just think at home, Arizona State, I like Leavitt. Really no preference. Easily TCU could win this, but like I said, not really a big CFP expert. I just know some of the players, but I'll take Arizona State to win this one in a close one at home. Tomorrow we got Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. Georgia Tech looks amazing. The walk-off win they had versus, I believe it was Clemson earlier this year. They've been playing amazing ball so far, so give me Georgia Tech to win. They had some big upsets last year, beating FSU week 1 or week 0, technically it was. They're one of the best teams in football, obviously ranked number 16. I like them. Next up, number 21 USC versus number 23 Illinois. I know this is in Illinois, but I'm actually going with USC here. I mean, Illinois, pathetic effort last week versus Indiana dropped what? It was like 60 points on them. I was very surprised by that. Indiana might be better than they were last year, which not a lot of people, including myself, expected. Um, Overall, though, USC, I like what I'm seeing from their offense right now with I'm stumbling on the head coach's name. They used to coach at Oklahoma. Their offense is always going to be prolific. Defense is still a little bit suspect. I think Illinois will be able to put up points in this one, but USC's offense is just too electric right now that I think I'll take them. And just because of last week, I really don't know. Sorry, Lincoln Riley. All right, because I knew his name, but whatever. I think Lincoln Riley has this offense humming right now. Mayava, the quarterback, has been playing really well so far. I think they were kind of missing that quarterback consistency with Miller Moss last year. And the defense, is a little suspect. I just trust them to do enough to win a close road game. I do think Illinois bounces back a lot from last week because it really can't get any worse. But overall, just when you're ranked number 9 in the land and you lose by like 50 points, that was just kind of shocking. I really don't know, mentally how you can come back from that. But if they do, credit to them. It would be a nice bounce back win. Next up, the Fighting Irish take on Arkansas. Arkansas has had some brutal losses last week against Memphis, I believe it was. They choked with the running back fumbling. Notre Dame got their first win last week. Obviously, their 2 losses to Miami and Texas A&M were dogfights. This Notre Dame offense is way better, or not way better, but it's definitely better than it was last year. But their defense is way worse. They've definitely been kind of suspect to giving up a lot of points even against Purdue. Notre Dame will win a close one here. I think they're desperate to continue their season, try and win out for any slim hopes of CFP chances. But it won't be easy at Arkansas. Arkansas can definitely put up points, but I just don't see Notre Dame starting off 1-3. I think they're the better team, a more complete team, and I think the defense has to bounce back a little bit because if not, they're really in trouble. Next up, Utah State versus Vanderbilt. I don't think anyone can bet against Diego Pavia right now in Vanderbilt. They've been humming, carrying the momentum from late last season. Obviously, start with being out Alabama, and that guy's a stud. So got a lot of swagger. I toured, not going to school there, but I did just take around Vanderbilt campus. The energy there is electric. Going to one of their basketball games. Give me Vanderbilt. A little sweet spot for Vanderbilt, especially at home in this one. Really don't see any big upset there. Next up, Texas A&M versus who was it? Auburn. Auburn suffering their first loss last week. Jackson Arnold has been good, in the running game. But Texas A&M, I think, is overall just a more complete team at home. That offense is very dynamic. They've been clutch. I like Texas A&M to win a dogfight against that. But Auburn could definitely put up points. That rushing attack is deadly. I saw that week 1 versus Baylor. But overall, I think Texas A&M, more complete team. They're finally living up to their hype, and it's great to see. Next up, I think the best game of the week. Number 4, LSU versus number 13, Ole Miss. I've been an Ole Miss guy mainly because I was a big Jackson Dart fan. Obviously, they barely missed the CFP last year. Thought they should have been in, but it is what it is. Lane Kiffin, I don't think wants to be denied. And while I love LSU, the offense finally got going last week with Garrett Nussmeier, but honestly hasn't looked the best. I think Ole Miss has been the more complete team with some tough, wins on the road at Kentucky where they lost at home to them last year, beating Arkansas on the road. I think they're battle-tested. Trinidad Chambliss has come in and filled really nicely at the quarterback spot for the injured Simmons. He really has possessed a running game, over 100 rushing yards last week, can pass the ball. I think it'll be a dogfight. I think this is the game where it's just kind of a toss-up. I'll take the home team. I'll take the Ole Miss. I know it's going to be electric there. Nussmeier and the boys will be able to put up some points, but the Ole Miss defense has looked pretty good for the most part, so I trust them to just do enough to win this one out. I think also Ole Miss being more tested so far this season will be in their favor. I think it'll be like a 23-20 dogfight that Ole Miss wins. Next up, number 1 Ohio State versus just Washington. Ohio State, really nothing said there. Best defense in the land. Overall, still the best team. So I got Ohio State winning that one. Next up, number 11 Indiana rising far up with Melendez at quarterback in that domination win versus Illinois. Like I talked about, it was like 56-10. I was like, holy shit. Kirk Cignetti's, got them boys rolling once again. It's in Iowa. this game's going to be closer than people think. Indiana's definitely not going to hang another 50 points. Iowa's defense is just simply too good, but I am never picking Iowa's offense in a dogfight. I think Indiana, it'll be ugly, but I think they'll win this one like 20-10. I think they'll do enough on defense to contain Iowa. We saw what they did to Illinois' offense last week. I think they're the more complete team, obviously, with Melendez at the helm. This offense is going to be electric. I don't think Iowa will go down without a fight. They're going to make it ugly, but Indiana's just obviously the more talented team. Give me Indiana to win that one. Number 15, Tennessee with Joey Aguilar versus Mississippi State. That's been low-key underrated. They obviously had that big win versus, I believe it was Arizona State earlier on in the year. They've been, they had no expectations going into the year, but I believe they're undefeated right now. I'll double check. Yeah, 4-0. But the analytics still favor Tennessee. Their one loss was to Georgia in a great, kind of shootout game. Joey Aguilar has proven to be amazing, and Tennessee making the right decision to move off Nico Emalava. And that's just so funny, wanting more, a couple million more, and Joey Aguilar has proven to be the much better quarterback for the system. The offense looks great with Heupel. I think Tennessee will win this one, handing Mississippi State their first loss, but don't be surprised if it's been close. Mississippi State has proven the ability to put points, and we saw that against Arizona State, really flustering also on defense. Sam Levitt for most of that game. So give me Tennessee to win that one. Next up, Arizona versus Iowa State. Iowa State, Rocco Beck. I'm trusting them so far. Got off to a good start beating Kansas State, beating Iowa in a dogfight. They've proven they can get into different types of games, shootouts, dogfights. They did have a close game with Arkansas State, but still, I think the offense is due for a big game here on this one. I think at home too. Really no upset watch for me. I got Iowa State. Next up, one of the best games as well. Number 17, Alabama versus number 5, Georgia. Low-key, I'm a big Ty Simpson guy. That boy can sling it. Giovanni Bernard has been great. But Georgia also, has proven they can get off to slow starts and find a way to come back. Tennessee, their defense was Swiss cheese. But a big thing is Jam Miller and Tim Keenan are coming back for these games. Just want to double check and make sure about that. I think this game's going to be super close. Obviously, last year, this was a movie where Alabama jumped up like 28-0. Carson Beck and the boys came back, and then Alabama wins it on the last drive. That was kind of the peak because then they start off 4-0, and then the next week, I believe, is when they lost to Vanderbilt. I'm expecting something similar in this one in terms of score-wise. I think both teams are going to find ways to put up points. Ty Simpson's one of the best pocket passers. This one's tough for me because I really do like Ty Simpson, but Georgia at home, I think this is another game where I just got to pick the home team. If it was at Alabama, I would pick Alabama. But I think Georgia does get their revenge. I think Alabama will be able to put up points, especially with Jam Miller come back. But Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, this offense, got a gutsy win on the road at Tennessee. This rushing attack is deadly. This defense will make stops when it needs to. So give me Georgia to win a dogfight 31-28 type of game. Next up, number 6, Oregon versus number 3, Penn State. Arguably also could be the best game. I'm going to take the slight upset here. I'm going to go with Oregon. I love Dante Moore at quarterback position. They got a deep rushing game. Can be a different guy. Lamar popping off last week. I think Oregon, they're the number 1 team in the land last year. Obviously, they lost to the defending to the eventual champions, Ohio State. I think that was just kind of a bad draw, though. I think, they're one of the most well-coached teams in the land. I think, their offense is just as good as it was last year with Dylan Gabriel. The defense, has proven to be still very solid. Penn State, they're number 3. Obviously, their defense is, right up there with Ohio State's. Drew Allar has got a lot of potential, but I just haven't liked what I've seen from Penn State so far against, some worse competition. The play calling's been very vanilla, and obviously, maybe it's just because they're not really trying that hard. But I think Oregon, I just like what I've seen from them so far. I know Penn State, the whiteout, it's going to be an electric atmosphere, but give me Oregon to pull this off. I think Dan Lanning is on a revenge tour, after, just their brutal exit from the CFP. I think they'll want to set a statement here against, a team that's heavy favored, probably second behind Ohio State to win it, if not the favorites, just with the offensive power they have with Drew Allar, QB. But give me Oregon to pull off the slight upset. Dante Moore, I like what I've seen from him so far in this Oregon team. I like a slight upset there. Next up, the last game, the late night, BYU versus Colorado. This could be interesting. Coach Prime always there, but Colorado's offense just is lacking severe star power. So I like BYU to win that one in not even upset, even though it's at Colorado. I think BYU is the more complete team. So give me BYU. But with that being said, that rounds up my picks. So just kind of some, big games to keep an eye out. I do have Oregon beating Penn State in a slight upset. I do have Georgia slightly edging out Alabama, Indiana over Iowa, Ole Miss surviving at home versus LSU. And then USC beating Illinois on the road for like the notable rank versus rank games. But let me know in the comments what you agree, disagree with. What were your biggest takeaways from the Seahawks versus Cardinals game? If you're a Seahawks fan, make sure to like, or even Cardinals fan, comment. Comment what you think went wrong. What you're, are you excited about how the ending looked to continue on? Or CFP fan, what picks you agree, disagree with on me? Do you have LSU, Nussmeier lighting up Ole Miss? Illinois bouncing back, or Ty Simpson in Alabama making a statement against Georgia again? I always curious to get your guys' thoughts and comments in debate. But as always, thank you guys for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, and enjoy a good weekend. Big college football day tomorrow, and then NFL Sunday. So if you love content, please make sure to like, subscribe. Trying to hit 100 subscribers by the end of October, or even a like. Just appreciate all the support. But with that being said, have a good weekend, everyone. We'll be back Monday for a recap. Catch you next one. Peace.